Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Big Blend Radio. We're very excited. Today, we're going to Ireland. We're going to find out all the ways you can tour this beautiful Ireland location of Green, the Emerald Isle. Just a beautiful place and definitely a major bucket list destination for so many. And we're excited to welcome back Cheryl Ogle back on the show. Cheryl is a world traveler. She's a travel advisor and owner of the travel company, Hey Wanna Go. And she specializes in setting up trips and tours for her clients in the UK and doing river cruises, things like that. But Ireland is definitely one of her favorite destinations. Okay. And we're always excited because every third Wednesday she gets to come on our Big Blend Radio show. We can say, hey, want to go? And Cheryl, you could say, hey, let's go to Ireland, right?
Exactly. Always. I'm always up for Ireland. So,
Nancy and I used to live in England, and, then we were there. Yeah, we've been there a few times. Never got to Ireland. We did Scotland. We did a little bit of Wales. And never did Ireland or the Isle of Man, which is where our family is from. But so I'm always going we just say yet. We'll put the yet.
Yet. Well, then at the end of this little chat, I have an announcement that y'all may be interested in. Patience.
Oh, you're going to make us wait. Okay.
I'm gonna make you wait. Yes.
Okay, fine. Oh, patience. We just pretend that we're boarding a plane and hoping it takes off.
I know, right?
Are things getting better that way for air flights for folks out there?
Yes.
Good.
Good. I will say flights are full. Flights are very expensive for this summer, travel this summer. Some of my clients, newer clients who have not traveled since COVID, have come to me and said, we have a budget of this. And I just come back very honestly and say, okay, economy flights. I mean, these are the cheap seats will take up most of your budget when they come with smaller budgets. And I like to see, we all have different budgets at different times. And so I like to see everyone be able to travel. But right now, air is really making it prohibitive to go to Europe unless you have a pretty significant budget. So
yeah.
Keep saving and don't get discouraged. Keep saving. It just means not this summer, but maybe later. Shoulder season, when you're looking at April, September, October, those are really great times to travel. The crowds are down, the prices are down, and those are some of my favorite times to travel. Summer with the crowds and the heat, I'd almost rather stay home.
Yeah, it's kind of true, right? And so when you think about fall, and so the shoulder season, like you're saying, that's something people could look at doing this year to Ireland.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a great time to start planning those fall trips. It's a little late for summer just because the availability is low. You're looking at supply and demand, and when there aren't that many seats and hotel rooms are booked, prices are increased. So
when you talk about going to Ireland, I know you do a lot of river cruise bookings and do a lot of river cruises.
Yes.
Are there cruises that are connected to Ireland that you would say that's a good idea? Or is it mostly get there, get in a car and tour around, or go with a tour company? What's the best way?
There's no best way. Okay. There are no river cruises through Ireland, but there are some cruises that you can take around the British Isles. And I do have some clients doing that this summer. They're starting in London, and they'll be transferred down to Southampton, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours south of London. And you cruise from there, and they're going all through the British Isles. It's a 12 or 14-day cruise, and I've had other clients take it, and it's phenomenal. So there are other ways that you go, and you do have stops in Ireland. But really, for when you're traveling to Ireland, there are several different ways you can do. One is, and it's with any place, but with Ireland, an escorted tour. It's the easiest way. Often it's the best value. You show up, it's like traveling with mom and dad, when you were kids. Dad says, we're leaving at 8, you're leaving at 8. You don't miss the station wagon. You don't miss the bus. So with an escorted tour, someone else has done all of the brain work for you. And they tell you what time to be on the coach. And they're taking you to the highlights. When you get to the highlights, you then have skip the line access, priority access. They'll say you have 2.5 hours. We're at the Cliffs of Moher today, and go right behind you, and go see what you want, go do what you want, grab a sandwich before you come back, be back on the coach at 2 o'clock, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And so that's an easy way if you don't want to have to think or get yourself to a train, to a transfer or a tour. You show up once and they meet you once. And there's a lot of comfort, I guess, in knowing when I have first-time travelers who want that type of travel, as soon as they've met up with their tour group, I don't hear from them again, except for pictures saying, oh my gosh, we love this. Because they're in great hands. You're with professional drivers, professional tour guides. You're not just, you are on a coach with other people, but you're not just riding along. They're telling stories, they're playing music, they're pointing out things. So it's a great way to travel. And there are times I do that for my first place to a visit, or first visit to a place, just to really get some familiarity with it. It's an easy way to travel.
That's what, Nancy and I, with our travels in tourism side, not just our pet sitting as we travel, but with tourism, I mean, we do a lot of, media fam tours, which is it's kind of whirlwind though, in comparison to what you're talking about. And we'll work with visitor bureaus and they take us around, but you get this, you can ask questions. It's just a different thing than looking at a book or trying to Google everything yourself.
Right.
Once you're there, and listen, if you go to the place, you can actually start to pronounce things where connected with the place versus, I mean, everybody knows on our radio shows, I can't pronounce anything unless I've been there. That's the only, I don't care what language it is. I just make my own language up. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but that's just the way it is. But if I've been there or met the person,
right.
Isn't it, even on Zoom, it's not the same unless you meet someone in person.
True.
That's
very true.
Weird?
Yeah. It is true, but it's a great way to see things, but you do have to realize you are on a coach.
Yeah.
And there is no flexibility. The only flexibility, because often you're moving one day at a time. And so you may be in a new hotel, maybe 2 nights, but usually you're on the move every day because they are maximizing your time. And so it's not for everyone. Other people would they throw themselves from the bus, but for a lot of people, it is a great way to go. And again, it takes the guesswork out of it. You don't have to think, where do we make our transfer? You really don't have to think anything. You show up and you enjoy the highlights. Meals are included. They're usually 3 to 4 star hotels. And so you make friends. People are, the other travelers, they're just like you. They're just there to have a good time. So you end up I've made great friends from coach tours that I've taken, and we stay in touch on Facebook, but they've been in my home. I've been in there. So it is an interesting way to go. See some highlights.
I think it's definitely, like you're saying, for the first time, and especially if it's your first time as an international traveler.
Yes.
That's something that's important to look at too. So with Ireland, there's so many destinations, and I know on your blog you were talking about, and everyone, you can go to heywannago.com and check out Cheryl's, she's got great stories on there and information, and also some posts about upcoming group trips that she's organizing. So it's heywannago.com. But on there, you talk about also maybe going to a base city, kind of getting and that's something I love to do, because you kind of know where you are. You don't have to take things in and out of the car a gazillion times, or,
right.
It's just your luggage is in one place kind of thing, but you kind of do little trips out.
Exactly. That's one of my favorite. I think that's probably the most popular way that clients want to do Ireland is, and I really encourage you to spend time in Belfast, which is Northern Ireland.
Okay.
And although it's attached, this is one island, it is its own country. And so I typically recommend that you start in Belfast, and I'll explain why later, but start there. I have this amazing boutique hotel that everybody loves. I've stayed there. I try to send all my clients there when I can, but it's centrally located. You can get to a coach station, which is right around the corner if you want to do a day trip, and a day trip up to the very top of the island. Giant's Causeway is up there. These are basalt. No, they're about that big. It's a structure, 40,000 basalt columns. Wow. That came, and there's the folklore of how it's there, and how a feud with a giant in Scotland, and they fought, but it's something you won't see anywhere else. And you can look at the pictures, and it's not the same as climbing on it and saying, oh my gosh, I'm really here. I can't believe it. And so I always recommend a day trip up to Giant's Causeway. And you'll pass castles along the way. You'll hear the folklore, you'll hear music, it's just a fun time to learn more and see some other sites. And so you're not just sitting in the city, but when you're in Belfast, go spend some time, half a day at the Titanic experience. And I have people say, I'm not into the Titanic. Well, neither am I. I fell asleep in the movie in the theaters, but you learn. It was really long. But you learn about the people of Belfast and the people who
the ship went down with Cheryl asleep on it.
I know. I was like, I don't know. Anyway, I fall asleep in movies. So not a reflection on the movie, but it's a wonderful way to hear about the hardworking people of Belfast and what they went through, the conditions they went through. And so it really is worthwhile, I think, to go see. Go spend some time, hear about the Troubles, do a taxi tour. There was the Protestant and Catholic, the Troubles, and those continue in some ways to this day. I have a Catholic friend in Northern Ireland who said he still sees and experiences some of that to this day. Yeah, not in the ways that it was back then, but there's a lot to learn from up there. So then I recommend spending 3 nights in Belfast, and then you can take a coach or a train. The coach is actually a little bit easier than the train, costs less, and it's a comfortable luxury coach with Wi-Fi and plugs for your phones. So I usually recommend the coach. Take the coach down to Dublin, and it stops right in central Dublin, right by one of the hotels that I like to try to use. But there are others. So you hop off the coach, you're at your hotel, and then spend 4 nights in Dublin, more if you have time. This is all time dependent.
You got. Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say you have to go to the Guinness factory, right?
You've got to go to the Guinness factory. Yes. I'm not a beer drinker, but it is a really interesting tour, and you can learn how to draw your own, pull your own beer and experience that if you like. You can have your picture made in the foam on top of the beer, and then at the end you get there's a beautiful bar, and they've just expanded it, and so you've got 360 views around the city up at the top. And so you get a little ticket to go up and have a beer up there, or a Coke, or whatever.
I just have to back up here. I know Guinness is a big deal, but I remember, I think it was last year you went to Ireland, and I just saw one Irish whiskey, Irish coffee, and after the other in your photos. Not just you, but I remember like.
Okay, I don't know what was
now. There was Irish. I know, because you're not a drinker. You don't like your wine like Nancy and I. That's part of our blood system. But but these Irish coffees, I was like, what's Cheryl up to, man? But that's a traditional thing to try, even like Guinness. Unless you can't drink, but I think there's something about trying the local food. There's nothing like if you love beer and Guinness. You can't beat having a Guinness at the Guinness factory.
Exactly. But there are other things to try. And again, if you're not a drinker for whatever reason, I am not encouraging that at all.
No.
I don't drink very much at all. A couple of fruity things a year, and then when I'm in Ireland, couple of Irish or Bailey's coffees. But
not the trays of what I saw. I think you had like a group, so there was like a.
It was a group, right? That was not all me, and I probably didn't finish it. It's a little strong, and I'm more of an iced tea girl myself, but that's just for me. But Dublin, there's a lot to see in Dublin. It's an expensive city. Food's expensive. Hotels are expensive, just like when you visit any city. So it can be a good home base, but it can add up as well. But if you can only do 2 cities and you don't want to really venture out too much, it makes an easy way to go. You can do day trips from there, and that's something I recommend, is take a trip over to the Cliffs of Moher. And just like I was talking about with the Escorted, they're going to say, okay, you have 2 hours here, and then we're going on to Galway, and so they do a couple of neat stops. And then you're back, you're gone 10 to 12 hours usually on this type of tour. And they usually cost, somewhere around $75 a person, which is a great value considering what all you'll see in that time. So it's a way I can send you out on some day trips, but there are also tons of museums and things. There's the Epic Museum, which is I should have looked at this. Anyway, it's the history of the Irish people, and I can't remember the exact.
I want to do that. I want to do that. I know. Yes. A Saturday show is with artist Victoria Chick. So it's a day after St. Patty's Day, but she talks about the origins of Celtic art, which goes way back. And some of, like, she was talking about the Irish people and how they actually migrated as nomads to Ireland. And this and talking about what you're saying, the history of the Irish people is fascinating. Learning where bagpipes come from. Actually, they come from Egypt. So it's all of these things.
Okay, that'll be interesting to hear.
It's interesting because the history of Irish, it is, because you would think it'd be so similar to England, and it's not. It's not at all. It is not. And even getting into the history of the Protestant and the Catholic and even the Roman Empire and how that was different than England. You can see, Rome went through England very well,
Yes.
But it's a little different in regards to the Irish. So I want to go to that museum. And I know Dublin and even Belfast, I want to go because of the public art, because of, it seemed like murals were not only just for beautification, but the mural program is a huge way of telling their story.
Yes. It was political statements.
Political. Yeah, yes. Political. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful. It's very interesting to see. So Belfast is an important city, and I always try to encourage my clients, get up to Belfast. If you don't have the time, at least take a day trip that goes up to Belfast and then on to Giant's Causeway. It'll be a really long day, but you can do that from Dublin. It is an important city to learn about. And the people in Ireland and Northern Ireland, they are so lovely. They've never met a stranger. And so you can walk in, they know you're a tourist. You don't have to try to hide it. They know you're a tourist and they want to know where you're from and what do you like about it? And have you seen this? And have you seen that? And you need to go here and that kind of thing. And so they are lovely. I can't recommend Ireland enough. It's one of my favorites. And always looking, how can I go?
I know. How many times have you been?
A few. I don't know. 4 or 5, I think. 4.
Ooh.
Not enough. Not enough.
No, it's not enough. Not enough. No, okay.
Not enough. So but a few. I've been a few times and I do love it. But another way I do want to mention quickly is another way to visit for the more adventurous. Now I am not that person yet. But I did hold a rattlesnake the other day. So maybe
she is from Texas, everybody. Y'all.
But if you are willing to rent a car and do a self-drive through Ireland, it opens up so many doors for you because we will work ahead of time and really map out your itinerary and pick a bed and breakfast. So we pick B&Bs along the way. You have your own car. It's an island. So you can't get lost, really. I mean, you'll get your way back, but you need to be willing to drive the car. Everything is on the opposite side. I'm a lefty. And honestly, I don't think my brain would switch because I read magazines backwards. I mean, some things I just can't do as a lefty. But it is a fantastic way if you can drive on the other side of the road, drive on the other side of the car, and on the other, opposite side of the road is you've got some flexibility. So you can go out and drive, and if you see a little pub, you can stop in. Do not drive drunk. They are very, very serious about you don't take a chance. So you can have your Guinness, but you better sit there for the rest of the afternoon and not even have one drop in you left. But that is a way that really will open up some opportunities for you to just go explore.
I love that because I think also the younger generation is really, we want to go have that authentic experience. And what I love what you're talking about too, is you keep talking about boutique hotels and bed and breakfast. And I think that when you're traveling, if you can do that, and, I'm not knocking the brand hotels at all, because we need them too. Yes. Especially after a long flight sometimes, right? But the reality is those are the places where people will help you even on the ground. If you're in a car going from place to place and you're staying in bed and breakfast, those innkeepers are going to say, hey, this pub opened down the street. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I love that.
They know this is their life. They know where to tell you to go. And, it just makes for a different experience. And there's nothing wrong with I love a great hotel, that's for sure. Yeah. But it is a different experience, and many, many people really enjoy that. So it does take some flexibility, though. I mean, you need a car if you want to travel that way. It can be difficult because then you're out in the countryside. And even when you're touring, if you're on a coach bus for a day tour or a week tour, you'll pass these cute little B&Bs and you think, why aren't we staying there? Well, it doesn't work for a bus of 40 people, but it does. It's just charming. It's a charming opportunity to go speak with the people, sit down and really get a better feel, I think, for Ireland.
I want
Or
to
any
go.
country, when you can do it, but it takes more effort and you need to have a level of bravery to try. I think I could do it if I was out in the country, but I think getting the car out of Dublin could be dangerous for others
Yeah,
around
see,
me.
I think out in the country would be a good idea, like a good way to start. I think it would be
Right.
good to be there a few days first and do
Yes.
a few tours and like a bus tour and things like that, a coach tour, like you're saying, so that you can kind of get your bearings and start to understand the street signs, like watch what the driver's doing,
Yes.
if you're getting an Uber, that kind of thing. So you can kind of just go, okay, your body has to shift, even
Right.
as
You have to start thinking
pedestrians.
about all of that.
Yeah,
And
because
you can
even the
also
way
get
you
an
look.
international driver's license. And so
Oh, that's true
that's
too.
important. I think you can get it at AAA. There are other places. So
Mhm.
that's critical to get it and have some idea of what you're doing before you venture out. But
I
you can
know,
also fly
that's
into
cool.
smaller airports. There's the airport in Shannon, which is a smaller one, which would be a little easier than trying to get yourself out of Dublin. But there are opportunities, there are options. And so
I've heard that there's puffin birds over there, and we saw them in Guernsey in the Channel Islands. We
Mhm.
saw them, but I saw pictures of puffin birds, and now I want to go to Ireland just for that too. Well, there's a lot of reasons I want to go. I want to go see the fairies because I
Yeah.
believe they're there. I do believe there really are fairies in Ireland. I know
There-
you're giving
yeah.
me the look, Cheryl. I'm
There's
telling you.
there's a really cute little fairy garden in Belfast.
Oh,
So
see,
it's
everybody
darling,
wants
and
fairies
all these
in the
little
gardens.
houses and these doors on a wall. So it's charming. So since you mentioned that, I am working right now in the background on putting together a group to Ireland. And so it
Cool.
would be probably fall of 24, but I'm looking at some different options and I hope to have an announcement made early May.
Oh, cool. So
May. And so that'll go out to everyone on my mailing list, and then it'll be on my website and Facebook and all the things.
Facebook's
So,
a good place to follow Cheryl too, because when you're traveling, you always post what's going on, where you are, and it's always fun to follow, and you always put good advice. Speaking of that, do you have another couple trips coming up this year, or are they
I
still
do.
available?
I'm headed somewhere new to me at the end of the month. I am, which is making this month a very busy month trying to get everything done, but I'm headed to Croatia. And
Wow.
I have my oldest childhood friend, we're the same age, we're both 58. We are meeting in Croatia for about 11 days. And she's been
Awesome.
before, so I'm looking forward to visiting Croatia. And we're hopping around the country a bit. And after that, I fly to London and I meet up with a handful of clients. And we're touring London, couple of days at a quick stopover in Liverpool, and then on up into Edinburgh, where we've got a few days. And then because I have house sitters and I've already paid for the international ticket, air ticket, I decided to stay over for an 8-day tour of Scotland, which is places I've seen before, but it's Scotland and it's a tour company I've been wanting to check out anyway. So anyway, so that's what I'm got coming up. Wow, that'll get me through the end of April. So
Wow. And so what about, are you still doing the Christmas market?
Yes, and I have a couple of cabins left on the Christmas markets. It's round trip out of Budapest, Hungary, and we depart Budapest December 6th. We return December 11th. But most people will come into Budapest probably the 4th. So you have a couple of nights, at least one night ahead, and then it'll be a fun cruise. The river cruises, the ships hold about 160, 170 people. So it's a quaint experience. We have a good sized group going, but I do have a couple of other cabins. The first one is starting at, let me think, $16.09 a person. And I think I have one of those. And then the others start at $19.99 a person for the river cruise only. Air, I just priced out air the other day, round trip DFW to Budapest was running right around 900 for a good itinerary. Little less for a bad itinerary, but we don't book bad itineraries.
No bad itineraries come out from
no. We sure don't try to. So we start with a good one, and airlines change them all the time. But We do try to start with a good one. So if you're interested in a Christmas market river cruise, come join us. It would be a lot of fun.
I've heard nothing but how amazing it is and magical, and that's
I'm excited.
something that, going back to Ireland, to me, there's just this, whenever you hear the name Ireland, the Emerald Isle, right?
Yes.
There's this little glimmer of magic that just kind of goes through me, like this little sparkle of, there's some kind of magical mysticism, yet I don't know, there's just something magical about it.
I
And I
know.
haven't been there. And I always get that, like, ooh, I want to go.
You need to come.
Hey,
You need
want
to
to
come.
go?
Because it will be on a coach. It will be a coach tour that we're doing. But the more people we fill with my own people,
Yeah.
the more fun it will be.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah. And if they have music on the coach, that's fun too. And people
they
telling
do
you what
play
you do.
some music, and it just makes it just makes it a really fun time. But you'll learn so much, I think, on the coach tours, more than driving around yourself or sitting on a train, going to your next
Yeah.
destination. They'll tell you the folklore. They'll tell you there are over 20,000 castles in Ireland, and some are just in ruins, but you'll pass it and they'll say, well, this one, and they'll tell you about a battle or whatever. So you do learn a lot. So
Mm,
anyway,
nice.
I will have more information sometime in May about that, but I would love to have you and Nancy join us.
Oh my gosh, we'd be in trouble. We would need a chaperone. We need a chaperone. I'm just saying, because
I know. That's why I want
there's
you to come with us so I can keep an eye on you.
Irish coffees, Guinness, but also there's beautiful parks there that Nancy and I want to go see too, because they seem to really, the community parks are always a big deal in
Yes.
these areas. And that's something obviously we have to do because that's what we
You
do. But
obviously, for work. So you'd have to go
That's-
early a little bit and give yourself some extra time, but you would
Okay.
absolutely love it. It would match your beautiful scarf. So
Oh, see, thank you.
Green of Ireland.
I had to have the little bit of green. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Always good fun chatting with you. Always good advice for everyone planning
Thank you.
travel. So everyone, heywannago.com is the website to read Cheryl's blogs. Also connect with her if you're planning a trip. What she does is really amazing, especially if you're really planning an epic bucket list journey. Especially when you're doing something really special. I think definitely call Cheryl to help you because you want it to be memorable. You want it to be worth it. When you have those dreams, those travel dreams, and you finally get to make them happen, you want it to work out. So
get
again,
it done right. Yes.
Yeah, do it right. Do it right. heywannago.com. Of course, keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. We air every day at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. for Cheryl in Texas, Central time. And then, of course, we also have our Big Daily Blend exclusively on Spotify, where we air our interviews as well. And that kind of starts around midnight or something like that. Anyway, because we're a little crazy. So anyway, keep up with us there. Thanks so much, Cheryl.
Thank you.